All right, we'll take a look here at this Comcast story, because I definitely wanted to to cover this one. And again, I feel bad for like the break in between. Now it says here that Comcast is making a $65 billion offer to steal 21st Century away from Fox. Or steal it away from Disney. Yeah, that's true. They really upped their ante. It went from 62 billion to 65 billion. That's like they're really trying to up it ever since the merger was approved by the FTC. Now it says after weeks of signaling that it would do so, Comcast is making a play at 21st Century Fox's TV and film assets, hoping to derail Disney's pending stock-based $52.4 billion deal with Fox. Comcast is stepping in with a higher all-cash offer of $35 per share, which totals approximately $65 billion. The move is likely to trigger an intense battle between Comcast and Disney as 21st Century Fox and the Murdoch empire weigh which is the better option. Fox's board of directors is scheduled to vote on July 10th. Now, this next month is not even a month. I mean, we're talking like less than a month now. Is going to be intense when it comes to this debate. Now, I fully expect Bob Iger to come back in with something that's going to decimate that deal, right? They offered him 52 billion in stock. The Disney stock took a bit of a hit from Roseanne's cancellation as well as Solo's failing, but we got Incredibles 2 opening up next week. They're talking that's going to hit $140 million. And merchandise sales is really going to elevate those stock prices, which is going to be good for Disney when Fox's board of directors is going to vote on July 10th. They'll be able to see the stock price increasing, and I think ultimately, even though Comcast is rolling on in with cash offer, and everyone knows that cash is king. If I was an investor and they were like, well, do you want cash or do you want Disney stock? I'm like, damn, dude, I want Disney stock. They're opening up like Galaxy's Edge next year in Disneyland. That's going to insanely skyrocket ticket sales to Disneyland. They're opening up this a really big one. I saw a thing today. Really is like a new Disney themed like boat cruise line or whatever in Tokyo. That's a multi-billion-dollar project. That's going to skyrocket up the stock price. You've also got, everything else that they do. The Disney streaming service next year, which if that actually hits off if it hits up really good, if it starts off well, that's going to raise stock price. I mean, there's so much Disney's doing that's going to increase the stock price. And at the end of the day, you're people who invest aren't looking for a short-term game. They are looking for a long-term win. And I think Disney's kind of got it in the bag. Comcast is definitely throwing a wrench in the deal. Absolutely. But it's not, I don't think it's going to be enough to warrant, to push the board of directors over, out of the House of Mouse, to be honest with you. Because quite frankly, no one cares about Comcast. You know what I mean? Like there's no vested interest from fans. And if Comcast ends up getting this, they're going to they're going to be more hated than they already are, right? Just imagine their Twitter account. Comcast cares. It's going to be nonstop salt from MCU fans. Now, Comcast CEO Brian Roberts does here say that the time is of essence for your consideration of our proposal. He says that 21st Century Fox's board, in consultation with its outside legal counsel and financial advisors, this is Fox saying that, will review and consider the Comcast proposal, but it hasn't yet made a decision on whether it will postpone the July 10th meeting. It all depends, I think, on how the companies come back and forth and stuff. Now, Comcast had been reportedly waiting to see whether the AT&T acquisition of Time Warner would be approved, and that's what this all boiled down to. It all boiled down to that approval. And if the Trump administration decides to fight it, again, it would delay things. I don't know if they are. They haven't made any mention of it yet. I don't know if the Department of Justice is going to come in and make an appeal against the judge's decision. The judge did tell them not to do it. But then again, this is Trump. And this is what he do. So there's that. He could sit there and tell him to do it. He could make a big stink about it and see what happens. But either way, we're coming into a very weird territory right now. So Comcast does say here that it's highly confident that their proposed transaction will obtain all necessary regulatory approvals in a timely manner, and that our transaction is as more likely to receive regulatory approval than the Disney transaction. Right? They're throwing a little bit of shade through the SEC over there at over at or the FTC, whatever governing board is going to look at this thing. I think it's the FTC. I don't know why I said Security Exchange Commission. Probably because of stock, whatever. Yeah, they're throwing a little bit of shade. We'll have to see what happens with that. But I think, like, here's the thing. I do think, and I could be wrong, but I do think that ultimately it's going to go to Disney. When it comes down to it, Comcast wants this thing in order to compete with AT&T. They're open about that, which is fine. They're open about that. But at the same time, Disney is like, look, we want this because we want your entertainment assets. Fox News, Fox Sports, that shit ain't in the deal. So it's like not worth it to like even fight over that kind of crap. They don't want it. Comcast only wants it to compete with somebody else. So it really depends on how Fox's board of directors wants to look at this. Do they want this to be like a $60 billion or $65 billion buyout in order just to be used to one up another company? Or do they want to get the stock that's going to be used in a growth scenario, being used with Hulu and with the Disney streaming service, as well as merging over the X-Men characters with the MCU, which is the most profitable film series? There are so many things about the Disney side of this merger, of this buyout, that make more sense financially than Comcast. But Comcast is far more aggressive, and who knows, money could talk here. Money could talk in a way that's going to be more powerful than the long-term investment. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But like I said, I'm waiting for Iger's response to this one. I think many people who are invested in this, from whatever reason they want to be invested into it, is waiting to see what happens here. But the thing is, I mean, the only way this would work out, I think, any better would be if Iger went to Comcast, was like, look, you guys buy it, but then sell us the rights to these characters and throw in the Hulk for good freaking measure. Because since Comcast owns Universal and Universal owns the Hulk, they could make that deal happen. So that could be something. They could go, look, we're not going to get in the middle of this. We'll let you have this, but this is our side deal. So if I were Iger, I'd be playing both sides and just see what happens. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the worst thing that happens is that you don't get to you don't get it. That's the worst that could happen. But if you play it right, you could either get the whole thing or get what you really want, which is the MCU characters. Well, at least that's how I view it. But ultimately, I think realistically, you've got all of Fox's assets, which are insanely huge. Their movies, their television. I mean, The Simpsons, for one, that's a big one. So there are multiple reasons for this to happen with what Disney is doing in terms of content distribution. But at the same time, AT&T and Time Warner are going to kind of be doing similar things, so Comcast may want to jump down that path as well. And who knows, this whole thing could be a fight over Hulu. I've heard that argument. Makes no sense to me. But given the fact that Hulu's numbers have doubled, more than doubled, in the past couple years, like 1.5 times, maybe, just maybe, it is going to boil down to Hulu, of all things. I don't know. Anything could happen, and at this point, I can give the best speculation I can, but I will fully admit that I don't know shit about where things are going to go next. I just have theories.